Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up in our news tonight, a union leader's advice on Atlantis' employee COVID testing policy. More COVID-19 vaccine doses by next month. Young people get a helping hand rejoining the job market. And our TV takes you behind the life and legacy of Joseph Spence. Welcome to our News, the weekend edition, and thanks for joining us. I'm Georgie O'Bain. Topping news tonight. Shouting loudly, police say a lone man armed with a sledgehammer made his way onto Government House grounds and partly destroyed the statue of Christopher Columbus shortly after 1 this afternoon.
Make sure that don't fall on you, bro. Look like a heavy thing. Piece of history gone right there.
Officers taking that suspect into custody for damage to government property and unlawful possession, but not before the statue received extensive damage. According to police, the suspect was also found in possession of a bulletproof vest. This comes as Associate Professor of History at the University of the Bahamas, Dr. Christopher Curry, is renewing calls for the Columbus statue in front of Government House and other colonial relics to be removed.
There is a need for a serious consideration of how we think about our history being told and the relics that represent our colonial past, whether it be the Columbus statue in front of Government House, Queen Victoria in Parliamentary Square, Woodes Rogers in front of the Colonial Hilton. These are all mnemonic reminders of a colonial past that we need to move away from.
The October 12th holiday, now known as National Heroes Day, was previously called Discovery Day to commemorate Columbus's landfall here in the Bahamas. That holiday was renamed, but his statue remains predominantly placed. Curry says that statues like his belong in a specific place.
I've been on record, and I stand by it, that we need to remove the Columbus statue and place it in a national museum where a curator can explain the significance of Columbus to the Bahamas and the negative effects that colonialism, inaugurated by his voyage in 1492, created for this region.
Well, Trade Union Congress President Obie Ferguson isn't happy about the COVID-19 testing policy at Atlantis, requiring all employees to pay for their own COVID-19 tests. He's urging the resort's management to reconsider. Our Bethany McDermott reports.
A new policy that requires unvaccinated Atlantis workers to foot the bill for their own COVID-19 test isn't sitting well with Trade Union Congress President Obie Ferguson. He pointed to the Health and Safety Act, which states that no employer shall levy or permit to be levied on any employee any charge in respect of anything done or provided in pursuance of any of the provisions of the Act.
So, on what basis could a multinational corporation come into the Bahamas and decided that because they have a practice throughout the world, they can bring that practice into the Bahamas and impose it without regard to the laws of the Bahamas on Bahamian workers?
Ferguson added it would be in the best interest of Atlantis to reconsider the policy. On Wednesday, Prime Minister Philip Davis said he asked Atlantis to reconsider making unvaccinated employees pay for weekly COVID-19 testing. Davis, who met with Atlantis President Audrey Oswald, said he was told it was the result of a mandate by Brooksfield Assets Management, which owns Atlantis, that all employees be fully vaccinated.
I think any responsible company ought to reconsider that position. It will be in the best interest of the company, and it'll be in the best interest of workers, because they have thousands of workers employed.
Ferguson said he thought a policy like this would have been discussed with stakeholders before implementation. He had this bit of advice for the mega resort.
Certainly, I would invite Atlantis to accede to the request that the matter ought not be imposed arbitrarily, unilaterally, without certain accommodation being made to the relevant parties.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
The diminishing supply of COVID-19 vaccines in country is expected to be replenished by early November, according to officials of the Pan American Health Organization, who updated reporters during this week's press briefing on the anticipated arrival date of the Bahamas' next tranche of vaccines.
As the director has mentioned, PAHO is doing everything that's possible to increase the access of PAHO's member states to vaccines. In the case of Bahamas, we are working to expedite the process with COVAX, so the Bahamas will receive another 57 and 300,000 doses in the first week of November.
According to Assistant Director of PAHO, Dr. Jarvis Barbosa, the organization is also working to expedite a donation of some 4 million doses from the United States. The Bahamas will be able to purchase some of those vaccines through the PAHO revolving fund.
Secondly, we are working with the U.S. government and CARFA to expedite the donation of 4 million doses that the U.S. government is donating to the Caribbean countries, and the Bahamas will receive also vaccines through this initiative. And we are also offering to all the countries in the region to complement their vaccines through a direct purchase process using the PAHO's revolving fund.
On Friday, the Bahamas received a donation of 2,500 doses of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine from the government of Trinidad and Tobago. The Bahamas recently celebrated the milestone of achieving 100,000 fully vaccinated Bahamians and residents. Dr. Barbosa says PAHO will continue to work with the government of the Bahamas to see those numbers increase.
We have now 3 agreements that were closed with 3 emergency use list authorized producers by WTO that are offering vaccines to be delivered in 2021 for the last quarter of this year. So we have all these possibilities and we are working with the government of the Bahamas to support them to have more access.
Still to come on Our News Weekend, a walk down memory lane in our country's rich parliamentary past, how a program is helping unemployed find a job. Plus, RTV Originals takes you behind the guitar of Joseph Spence. That's coming up when Our News Weekend returns.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
You're watching Our News Weekend. Welcome back. The opening of Parliament was historic as both houses now boast of having a woman at the helm. With a glimpse into the history of Parliament, here's our Gillian Gray.
Most appreciative of the confidence Her Majesty has reposed in us, we are prepared to shoulder our responsibilities. And despite the ups and downs which we know will come, we know too that with God's help and the genius of the great Bahamian people, we are going to make it.
Those words from Sir Lyndon Pinling marked an iconic start for the Bahamas. However, the road to get to independence began long before that, in 1964, when the first written constitution outlined Parliament as the Senate and House of Assembly, with the Governor-General to represent the British monarch. The Constitution of the Bahamas, which is based on the Westminster model, is made of the executive branch, the legislative branch, which is Parliament, and the judicial branch.
The royal governors, when they were here, they had executive powers. Right now, the Governor General has no executive power. He acts only on the advice of the Prime Minister or the leader of the opposition in certain instances. With executive power, The House of Assembly could have passed a piece of legislation and the governor didn't agree with it. He'd send them back and make them change it. There's no such thing happening anymore.
Historically, the royal governors would rule by decree even when Parliament existed. Now, legislation must go through both the Senate and the House of Assembly to be passed. Any senator or member of Parliament can introduce a bill once it does not touch the consolidated fund, as only a cabinet minister can bring that type of legislation. But it's not just parliamentarians who have a say. Clerk of Parliament David Forbes says the people have the loudest voice, and they are heard through the questions they give their MPs to raise in the House of Assembly.
The implementation or the policy of always answering questions and being accountable and open with people will help you to govern better. I can tell you that in my experience here, I've seen questions asked with regularity, especially under the Pindling administration, where members of his own party would be asking his ministers questions, and there was never a problem with it.
Though some ministers are offended when questions are asked, Forbes says it wasn't that way in the past, as ministers would take pride in finding out the answer and bringing it back to the people's house.
You don't find long-term governments hardly anymore in this country. It's because everybody's upset with the government after 2 years because they're not answering any questions. And I can tell you also, I remember also Hubert Ingram getting up one day in the House of Assembly and answering every question that was on that agenda, everyone.
The opening of Parliament Wednesday was historic, as there has never been a female Speaker of the House and female President of the Senate at the same time. Italia Johnson is the only woman to have sat in the chair before now. Since Dame Doris Johnson was elected President of the Senate in 1973, there have been 5 women to follow in her footsteps.
Whenever you see a law pass, most of it commences in that lower house, because that's where the executive power is now. The Prime Minister and almost the entire cabinet is in the House of Assembly. The power has moved there, and I can tell you historically, members of the House of Assembly was always looking to be called up to the Senate because this was where the power structure was.
From the very first opening of Parliament in 1729 to now, the Bahamas prides itself on a long history of parliamentary proceedings, a source of pride for many.
God bless the Bahamas. Long live the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
Our News Weekend, I'm Jillian Gray.
A local program giving unemployed young people a helping hand in rejoining the job market. Our Jasmine Brown takes a look.
At the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, labor officials estimated unemployment had reached 40%. That fact has not gone unnoticed by the Citizen Security and Justice Program, which has partnered with Revive Academy and the Bahamas Technical and Vocational Institute to launch a free-of-charge job training program.
We have hosted about 2.5 cohorts. We're in the middle of our 3rd cohort, so we've trained over 400 students so far, at-risk youth, in the area of soft skills.
The goal is for 1,000 people to benefit from the program that is being funded by the Inter-American Development Bank. The first cohort of 135 participants graduated in April 2021. The second group of students is currently finishing up classes.
The program is offered through a blended learning modality, which means that we have in-person classes, but they're also available through the virtual platform as well. So we've had a number of students that were not able to take the virtual classes, and we were able to accommodate them here at BTVI.
Thousands of people have lost their jobs since the first case of COVID-19 was confirmed in March 2020, and the former Minnis administration implemented COVID-19 mitigation measures to stop the spread of COVID. Bethel says interest in the program has not wavered, but they would like to see more people signing up.
This is a perfect opportunity for you to retool yourself with essential soft skills that can possibly can create an opportunity for you. So to sign up, it's quite easy. They can log on to soft skills at btvi.edu.bs.
Now, with the deadline for registration quickly approaching, organizers are encouraging people to sign up as soon as possible. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
When Our News Weekend comes back from the break, remembering the life and legend of guitarist Joseph Spence, and a breast cancer survivor becomes an advocate. Her story when Our News comes back.
Welcome to Our News, and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
The legacy of Bahamian guitarist Joseph Spence is kept alive through his music, tunes and tones that transcend the time and space with a technique that connects people with the Andros artist. The RTV original documentary, The Virtuoso of Small Hope, features never-before-seen interviews and glimpses into the life of the sponge fisher, carpenter, bricklayer who became a music legend who took his craft way beyond our shores. The documentary airs Sunday at 4 p.m. Well, the month of October is observed as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and one survivor is sharing her story of triumph as well as the harsh reality of the disease. Rika Cargill, better known as Rika C, says she's now in survival mode.
Hot 91.7, your mega hit station is Rika C with the midday misbehavior on the station that cares about you. If you're out there on the road, make sure you drive with caution and care. Drive to arrive alive.
If you see Rika rocking her pink, you would have no idea of the battles she's faced. The breast cancer survivor was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer on August 24, 2012. The mother of 3 is now in remission. She says she's now in survival mode, focusing on being physically, mentally, and spiritually fit.
I would say that I'm a fortunate person because I decided to do away with the breasts. No, I don't have any breasts. No, and I'm happy to say that because that is one thing I don't have to worry about cancer, attacking my breasts. But breast cancer goes in stages. Breast cancer is a form of lung cancer as well as your cervix cancer. So it can still come back. But the fact of the matter is, once you have fought it once, you're going to be fighting for the rest of your life. All right, but I can say that I'm more happy now knowing that I'm keeping myself up to par, healthy. I'm laughing every single day.
Looking back at the day she was diagnosed and the fight to remission, Rieger says it can only be compared to a hurricane.
Dorian. Just like a Hurricane Dorian when it hit Grand Bahama. That is how I would describe cancer and going back and forth. It feels like your whole world has been destroyed. And you have to find that fight in you. You have to find that courage. You have to find that dependability upon other people rather than yourself, because you yourself don't have the strength.
Rika found out about her cancer just weeks after the birth of her son. It was a devastating blow during what should have been a time of celebration and bonding. But she says her kids kept her going through grueling chemo sessions and surgery.
My kids helped me a whole lot. In fact, I wrote about them. I sat down and I wrote a lot. They encouraged me, they sang to me, they made me laugh, they still make me laugh. They were my source of strength.
Rika has no problem sharing her journey and admits that she's sometimes surprised when people reach out to her.
Sometimes you feel like what you went through was a burden, but also it's a hope for somebody else. And that was one of the things when I prayed, when I was going through cancer, I asked God to save my life so that I can be a beacon of hope for somebody else and help to save someone else's life. So it can be very taxing. Wow. Every single day I get a different call. It doesn't necessarily have to be breast cancer, colon cancer, any type of cancer. They just want to know what it was that I did to get through the hard times. And that in itself gives me, it makes me feel good to know that I can help somebody else.
Now the business owner, model, radio host, and cancer advocate is doing her part to help those in the fight against cancer. Here's how you can help.
I am raising funds at an establishment called F2K on Thompson Boulevard. And what we're doing is every Friday, everyone wears pink in the yard. Everywhere. Everyone is decked out in pink. Once you walk into the yard, you will see the decorations. And I have some Aquapure jugs there, 5 gallons, decorated with the pink ribbons. And every single day, if they want to do it every day or just on Fridays, we donate money into that jar. It doesn't matter the amount because every dollar counts.
During the month of October, RICA is encouraging women and men to get screened for breast cancer.
Shouts out to all my breast cancer survivors who's got it locked and loaded, because this month is all about breast cancer awareness. Wear your pink, rock your pink, okay? That's what it's all about this month. And don't forget to get yourself tested, because early detection is key. Get those mammograms, get those scans, get those PET scans, whatever you want to call them. Go get them so that you can save your life today.
So to come on our News Weekend, a fun and free way to get fit on the weekends. The details when our news returns.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
If you're watching our News Weekend, welcome back. It's a spark to start a healthier Bahamas. Rotaract Club of Nassau will be hosting a series of free health and fitness workout sessions on R. Bailey Park to help residents improve their diet, tackle obesity, and practice regular exercise.
We're going to have BMIs measured as well as weight and fat percentages, and that way they can get like the whole picture of how they are in terms of their health journey and maybe where they want to see themselves. So it is completely free, no registration at all. We just encourage you to bring your mat, bring a friend, bring some water. We'll be right here on the park at 7 a.m. next week, Saturday. That's October 16th, and looking forward to having you there.
The Shape Your Body and Be Healthy sessions are in partnership with Zamunda Total Fitness. Coach Zamunda says that the 2-week free training sessions will be a mixture of body weight exercises and cardio.
We're going to do a calisthenic style workout, so it's basically using your body, no added weight, just body weight, and using functional fitness. So when you come out, it's going to be a little mixture of aerobics as well as body strength training.
And why is that so important, to get people moving now?
Well, especially in the Bahamas, we are ranked in the top 10 of obesity, so it's very important that we educate our people the importance of health and taking care of their bodies. So next week, along with the Rotaract Club, it's a pleasure to work along with them to get the Bahamas back in shape now.
And thank you so much for joining us for our News Weekend. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Georgie O'Bain, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.